how to take the business into the next generation successfully. An interview with Kirby Wagg, and I really learned to appreciate him. He has taken the business over from his father, and he has now put his son in charge 3 years ago. And we are talking about the experiences and also what is his advice and our advice for the younger generation who wants to take over and for the older generation that wants to leave the company. Now, let's switch to the interview. Hi, Kirby. We have met each other online and we've had some conversations in the past. Maybe you can introduce yourself for the audience.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Yeah, it's a pleasure seeing you again, and we've had some great conversations on Zoom, and maybe someday I can come over to Austria and meet you, and you'll come over to North America at some point in time. But my name's Kirby Wagg. I'm the CEO of Wagg's Ltd, a 5th generation textile rental company, and we're just north of Toronto. And my great-grandfather started the business, and it's currently being operated by my son, who is the 5th generation, and his name's Billy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
And how was it for you to start in the family business?
Yes, essentially, like you, we kind of grew up in the business. We were kind of born into it, and but officially, I worked there in the summer times, at about the 14 years old mark, and loading washers and sweeping floors and painting and yes, grabbing laundry out of vehicles that pulled up to the plant. And at that point in time, my dad had 3 plants operating in the area, and so I moved on. Obviously, after high school, I came into the family business after a year of local college, and came into the business and started tearing apart one plant in Midland, Ontario. And so we were amalgamating everything to the Aurelia plant, which is we're just north of Toronto. And so I got a lot of experience of tearing apart.
So you closed one plant and moved everything to another one? Yes,
and then we were going to develop, we tore down that plant in Midland, and we developed the corner and put a small dry cleaning plant in there. And
so did you have to fire employees?
Yes, the plant employees were let go. All the drivers, or the RSRs as we call them these days, were all hired back, and all the managers were hired, and it was only 30 miles away, so it was not a bad transition for most of them. And so yeah, that was a tough thing. Although being fairly young, I wasn't exposed to that as much. My father was running the business at that time, and I was there helping him tear apart the equipment. And then, of course, when we bring it to Aurelia, we had to put everything back together again. And so my dad was very, very good at fixing machines and developing new ways of doing things with the machines. And so I learned a lot from him in the machinery part in a very short period of time. So I can pretty well fix anything in the plant now if I had to.
Which is good, and also maybe a curse.
Yes, it is a curse, because I still get the odd phone call from my son's general manager about the odd equipment that they have a question about. And of course, hopefully I can answer it over the phone, but sometimes I have to actually go in and help them out with something. So yeah, so
yeah. And how was your relationship with your father in this case?
My dad and I were not really close at all. he was not a very good communicator at all. He just worked. He worked hard, and I was expected to follow along and learn. And you know, he let me know if I wasn't pulling my weight, and it was the relationship was strained at times. Of course, you know, I'm just right out of high school. I think I know everything, and I have my own way, and he's got his way. So, but yeah, it was a bit strained at that point in time, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and how comes that you took over the business then?
So once we moved all the equipment to the more modern plant, let's say, we basically, my dad was gone. I was essentially left there to work with all his managers and find my own way. So yeah, it wasn't a very long transition at all.
Was it a health issue or?
No, he was fed up. he was fed up to the point where, you know, now my grandfather had just passed away. So okay. I think he lost some steam there as far as his motivation to keep things going. So it was like sink or swim for me. It was like,
how old were you at this point of time?
I was 19.
No.
19 years old. And
you took over the business with 19 years.
19, and then I got married at 20 years old, and I was essentially working. I was kind of like an assistant manager to the manager. However, I'm pretty strong-willed, so him and I kind of butted heads. Not at first. Maybe the first 6 months I was learning a lot, and I found that the old ways of doing things, I had my own ways that I'd like to try. So there was a lot of me asking people, well, why don't we try it this way? Oh no, we did that 25 years ago. So it didn't work. Okay, so I would ask again and say, well, why don't we try it this way maybe and see if that works? And no, you can't do that. At the end of the day, I would say, well, we built a new plant 5 years later, and I did that. And at the end of the day, I had fired pretty well all of them because they were stuck in their way, and I shouldn't say fired. Maybe they probably left on their own for the most part. So, but yeah, we built a new plant in 1985, and that's where we are now. And I did bring my dad back for that to help set up equipment and hook up equipment, and by that time we were getting along very well because he could see that the business was thriving. The week after we moved into the new plant, I picked up a brand new hospital account, and that just doubled our sales right like that, and our profitability went through the roof. And then we eventually got 2 more hospitals, and so that made the new plant. We essentially, within 3 years, we had our mortgage paid off, and because of all the business that we got. So it was a really good coup that we did that. So
very good.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you have. And you're still the CEO now, or I think you're.
I'm not active. I'm basically in an advisory capacity right at the moment.
Yeah.
My son is 32, and he's been running the plant, the company, for about 3 years now.
Okay.
And essentially, 3 years ago, he came to me, and I'll go through the transition from me to him, but essentially 3 years ago, Billy said to me that I needed to go. I was micromanaging him, and it was time for me to go. He wanted to make his own mistakes, and good for him for recognizing that.
Yeah,
so
it sounds so familiar.
yes, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, you don't want your children to make mistakes. So, but I studied for my real estate license, and I sold commercial real estate for 3 years. And I since have moved in now to the consulting, as you know, and so yeah, it was. As I'm on the phone, my son's calling me. So now he calls me once or twice a day, and I still call him, of course, but just to talk about things, let me know what's going on, or things that he's done or found out in the industry. And so we've got a really great relationship now, and so it's a lot better, and I'm not micromanaging him now because I know I can't. So
what's the difference between you and your father and you and your son? What do you think is the difference?
Yeah, well, the big thing is the big word, communication. And it's, like I said, with my father, he went, or I came in one door and he went out the other, essentially.
Oh, really?
And I was left to go, okay, what do I do? And I had to learn on my own. And it was, he was there if I needed him, but I wasn't one really to call upon him very often. I felt it was a sign of weakness to actually call him up about something. He would come in periodically to the plant and check on things, but not really. He just, he was there if I needed him. But it's, the difference is the communication. So my son was working at the local hamburger shop in the summertime. It's a very famous hamburger shop called Weber's out on the highway, and he was there since he was 12 years old. And I picked him up from work when he was 15 one day, and it was the middle of the summer, and he said, I gave away all my shifts. I said, oh, what are you going to work at? He says, I'm coming to work for you. I said, okay.
That's a threat.
So he did, and for the couple of summers he worked in the plant, but there was communication all the way along. I would say, okay, this month let's try working in the office. So we learned how the computer system, and learned how to deal with clients, and learned how to deal with the workers, and then another summer he would be working in the plant. And but there was communication all the way through. It was what was, there was some expectations, and there was some give and take, obviously. And he learned every aspect of the business. We had him go out on route and did some service work, and eventually did some sales work, and worked on the machine. So learned a general knowledge of maintenance. And so, but all along, communication was that's what I learned from not having that in my career with my father. And so I made it a real process to communicate to him what was expected, and how to do jobs. And whoever he was working with, we would sit down and say, okay, Billy's working with you this month. Here's what we want him to learn, and go from there. So
okay,
that's the big thing is communication.
But the good thing is also that he is not he is obviously also alpha, so he was very frank with you that he wanted to take the responsibility.
Yes, he was very, very frank on, but not at first, Christian. He he was just like a sponge. He learned, and he understood that he had to learn everything about the business. And I think in the back of his mind, he knew what he wanted. And, you know, when the plant manager, his wife got transferred, there was an opening to run the actual plant at a fairly young age. And he said, I'd like to take that. And I didn't know if he was ready or not. However, I said, okay, you work with Dave.
How old was he?
He would have been probably 25 at this time or so, 26. And so we worked with the plant manager for his last 2 weeks, and he learned what was going on. And then him and I had some great conversations over the next couple of years on what was expected. And eventually he just sort of took on more roles. And then it was like, you know, I was there and he was there, and it was kind of not big enough for both of us type thing. And so he essentially said, hey, you need to go. So I was on the road doing some sales for him, and you know, essentially I would be involved with everything. So it was the best thing that ever happened that I left.
So and he's now doing the sales as well and everything.
He does a little bit of he actually now is starting to go out on the road a little bit now. COVID is over, essentially. He's got a sales team, and but he's doing a little bit, and I encouraged him to get out on the road a bit, get away from the plant. He's got a really good plant manager now, and so he's getting out a little bit, and you know, he's participating in TRSA a little bit. And so yeah, it's I'm very proud of what he's doing, and like I said, we've got a great relationship. It's
so what would be your advice for someone for a younger and an older generation? So first, for the younger generation, what would be your advice?
For the younger generation, I would the one thing that I thought maybe that I would have liked to done was maybe a little bit more schooling after high school, maybe a business course, learn the numbers, like some kind of an accounting course maybe. Now I had the benefit of my sister, my younger sister, one of them is an accountant, and she was our bookkeeper. So I leaned on her a lot for the accounting process. And but I would suggest for the younger generation is get a little bit of schooling, a business course, an accounting course. You know, TRSA has many many workshops, etc. So I would encourage that. And I think one thing that this is a little bit radical is if I had to do it over again, you'd almost send my son to another company. Go to Toronto, or go to New York, or go work for another linen company and see how it is. I think that'd be great education. So
yeah, at least for a few years.
Yeah.
And take also a responsibility there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
This was actually for me a very nice experience. I mean, it's the video is about your experience, but in my case, we had also a very rocky relationship with my father.
Right.
And I was also plant manager in one plant, and yeah, I was completely too young. So I was plant manager for 150 employees at the age of something like 23.
Wow.
And
that's a learning experience.
Yeah, it was a learning experience. So I was more swimming than
yes
than anything.
So did you end up going to another company?
Yeah, I worked then after the MBA in Toronto. I worked for 1 year at FDR Services in New York, so in Long Island actually.
Awesome.
And I was then the assistant to the CFO. And FDR Services had 1,000 employees or 1,200 or something, and 8 plants or something. And this was an incredible experience for me. On the one hand, it was a very good experience because I learned a lot. I also contributed a lot, I think. And
Yes.
and then what also was nice is that I've started in September, and by November or so, or December, I negotiated a raise of 50% or something.
Oh, wow.
So I earned at the end of the day more than I earned when I came back to my parents' company.
Okay.
Because this was always the problem, my issue, that you that the wage that you get as a son feels a little bit like just something nice from your father.
Well, and that's so true, because my very first summer, the minimum wage was $1.80 an hour in Canada or in Ontario. And I remember being in my dad's office eating lunch when he was signing the paychecks. And it was my very first paycheck, and I was so excited that, I was going to get this paycheck. And everybody else in the plant or in my area was making $2.10 an hour. And the lady that did the payroll put mine at $2.10. And he looked at the check and he set it aside. And I went, oh, okay, I wonder what's going on there. He brought it back down to her and he says, he makes $1.80. I thought, okay, all right. But the $1.80 times, I forget how many hours I did that first week. It wasn't a lot. I think I worked 3 days a week or something. I thought I was rich. I thought, wow, that's a lot of money I just made. And I was happy and excited. However, I wasn't making the same as everybody else because I was who I was. So, but you're correct. We tend to lag behind for a while, and then until we get to run the show. So.
Yeah. And when I summarize, one advice for the young generation is also to go outside of the business and to have some education. And
well, and I'm wondering whether our industry does that. Maybe there's some companies that trade back employees in different areas of the United States, let's say. That might be a good thing to start, because it would allow people to grow a lot quicker. And
I mean, if someone wants, I can also arrange something for Europe.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome to work over there for a year?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That sounds like a great idea for sure.
So
but
if someone listening has an interest, then
yes, there you go. Well, and the same goes true with, I'm sure that somebody from another country, whatever, wanted to come up to Canada, and I'm sure my son would hire somebody for short term to train them and help out, and he's very open-minded that way too. So I think the invitation is open, I'm sure, in a lot of places.
And what is your advice for the older generation?
The older generation that is actually leaving the company. Yeah. So I would obviously you'd have to be talking to your advisors, your tax lawyer, your accountant, your top employees, is get a lot of good advice, which I did. And I also had a good mentor. I had a few really good friends that were a bit older than me that ran companies and sold companies. And they're still friends to this day. And they actually helped me out with a lot of advice as far as not so much on a family transition, but getting advice from advisors that they seem expensive at the time, but they're not. It's is pay the money to get good advice from lawyers and accountants, and then have the conversation with your family member or members, and lay it all out in the line, because it's better to have it all out there, and so everybody knows what everybody's doing and what everybody's thinking. And I think it's very important. And there again, it's communication. So,
do you have many kids? How many kids do you have?
Two.
Two.
My daughter's 10 years older than Billy, and she worked in the company, and it wasn't her aspiration to take over. She now has her own dance store, and she runs dance competitions because her two daughters, my granddaughters, are highly qualified dancers. So one of my granddaughters is at university for dance right at the moment in her third year. So
Cool.
so she likes that aspect of, and she's a business person. She's got about 3 or 4 little businesses going, and so she's doing very well, and I'm very proud of her too, obviously. So.
Yeah.
And Billy and her have really developed a great relationship now that they both have children, and they've got a lot in common, and they get along fantastically. So very proud of them.
That's very good. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I've got 3 younger sisters. So and I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
So my one sister is a nurse, and she just retired. Middle sister Joanne, she's the accountant, so she's our bookkeeper still, or she's Wagg's bookkeeper, but she has her own little accounting business. Shouldn't say little, she's got an accounting business. And my younger sister is a dental hygienist. So everybody's got their own profession, and doing very well. So
okay. So but
yeah, how about you?
but only your middle sister is was in the business.
She was in the business for 25 years.
Yep.
Yes. And so I helped her through some online school, or not online. She actually back then had to physically go to classes, and it took her a while. She had some health issues, but she was able to, she's now a CGA, and which certified general accountant, and she's got her own business, but she still does the books as a bookkeeper. Okay. For Wags, for my
so not full time, it's just.
Yeah, she is Billy's godmother, actually. So it's interesting. She works for him, but she's the godmother. So what about you? Do you have siblings, Christian?
Yeah, an elder brother and an elder sister.
And were they involved in your business?
Yeah, the time when my siblings were in the teenage years, my father had he had a huge expansion and then some financial distress.
Right.
So they didn't. My sister decided not to go into the business at all.
Right.
Never. I think she never really worked in the business. I actually took her part-time into the business for some roles, more like a board member.
Right.
Yeah, the story with my brother is unfortunate. Is a little bit unfortunate.
Right. Younger or older?
12 years older.
Oh, older. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. So he rejected my father. He didn't want to go into the business in the first place, and then my father. I don't know. I would have to look it up. It was the Clean Show in Frankfurt in something like 84 or 83. I was something like 13 or 14 years, and my brother rejected the proposal of my father that he comes into the business. Right. And then my father was really desperate, and he asked me as a 12 or 13 years old, I don't know. I mean, when I want to succeed him. And
Wow.
and I said, "Ooh, it's
Oh.
100 employees or something." And it was huge. But I was always the guy who took challenges. Always.
Right.
I don't know, since I had diapers. and so I said yes. And then my father, in all his wisdom, we went together onto the Clean Show, and he introduced me as his successor.
As the successor. Oh wow, that's interesting.
It was funny. Yeah, this was my story, and then my brother didn't want to go into the business for some time, but then after it went very well,
yes,
he reconsidered his decision, and he wanted to go into the business. But then my father said, "No, your brother already is there."
Right.
Wow. This was then quite in conflict there.
So I'll put the question to you. What advice would you give the younger generation?
Yeah, I think very similar. I think a good education and also experience outside of the company is good.
Yeah.
But still, not only to educate, but like you did, also to try to work on every part of the process. So on the one hand, in the plant, on the shop floor, but also at the customer when it comes to customer service and even sales.
Yeah.
I think that's very important, and to educate yourself, but then also to have boundaries, and to know where is your. So this was basically one of the issues that I needed to learn. Where is my own objective then? What is my contribution on the one hand, but also what are my boundaries? And yeah, and
so what do you mean by boundaries?
Yeah, I mean the point is, at the end of the day, as you mentioned before, you will be doing the business in a different way than your predecessors.
Right.
There's no way that you will do it the right way, the same way.
Right.
So you will do it quite similar in many cases, but in many instances, but you will do it differently in many others.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also important in a family business, to respect that each generation has its contribution.
Yes.
But in order to do this, you will most probably have to do the same as your son did to you.
Yes.
With you and your father, it was different. There, he was gone.
He was gone. Yeah. There was no holding on with him.
You didn't have to fight about your position there.
No, nothing at all. That's interesting.
But your son made up his mind and said, "No, I'm 29 or something. Dear father, I think I'm capable, and please, try to get something else to do."
Yes, absolutely, and I respected that, and now I love change, and I find that any of the ideas that he comes up with or his team comes up with now, and he talks about it, I'm very, very excited, because some of the ideas that have come out of it is like, you go, wow, why weren't we doing that in my time? Just simple things that have sped up production or made things, saving on packaging, or there's so many things that I wish that we would have thought of, but now he's doing so. Yeah.
So what I had to do is to say to I had to make this decision myself, what I want to do, and And then in 2005, I said to my father in March, something like this, that I will leave the company for good if I will not be able to take it over on the 1st of January 2006.
2006. Wow. Wow. You give him the ultimatum.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah. Wow.
He always said that he will retire, but then he worked ever harder.
Wow. Wow.
But I was serious, and I would have left. And he tested me for half a year, but then I said, okay, in 2 weeks I'm gone.
Wow.
And he signed the contract. Yeah.
Interesting.
This was maybe our way to do it. So every company is different, every family is different. But he had also a very tough negotiation with his father, so maybe it was family culture.
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting.
And so that's what I would recommend to the younger generation, and to the older generation, maybe also similar, to try also to find something else for yourself.
Yes.
Because if the business is everything for you, then it's existential if you have to leave it. So I think it's important that you yourself, I think I liked your way that you started into the real estate world, because otherwise, if you have no perspective apart from your family business, then it's a real life existential threat when you have to leave.
It is.
And at the end of
Absolutely.
the day, you need to leave because your presence is you're so omnipresent. If you are the previous generation, you need to leave.
Absolutely.
For some time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because what happened, I was on the road doing sales. So I thought I was away.
Yeah.
But you're never away because you're back in the office and you're manipulating things and it's just you're never really gone. So until you leave, and that's what I had to do. And I'm glad I made that transition, and I'm glad I'm kind of back in the industry again. It's I'm very excited about the future. So, and it's great meeting you, Christian.
So maybe it's also good if you can consult others in the industry regarding generational change, amongst other things. I know that you are very good in operations and you're an industry insider. So
yeah, thank you for that.
Focus, but I think that you can also give something to colleagues when it comes to taking over the business on the one hand, on the other hand, to
leave the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that. And I'm hoping that's what happens. As far as I'd love to help out other entrepreneurs in the business, and I know you and I have been talking about a few things, so it's very exciting what the future holds here. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very nice talking to you. And maybe if you as the audience like it, then give it a like.
Yes. Yes.
And motivate Kirby to come up again. And maybe,
that's right.
Maybe we should make a live webinar on this issue. I think this would be an interesting one.
Yeah, that might be a good project to have for sure. And yeah, anybody reaching out to Christian, it's Leanlaundry, and you can please like our video. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. We'll chat to you again.
Yeah. See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So this was an excellent interview. I really liked it, at least myself. If you also liked it, then give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and also leave some comments. This is on the one hand good for the YouTube algorithm, but also we would like to hear your feedback and what was your lessons learned, what is your comment on how to take the business to the next generation. And if you're interested, then you can book a strategy session and free consultation with myself. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to take your business to the next generation, then we can have a free consultation there. And there's also a guide, a download for management in the current time of inflation. It's a very good one. I like it. Just have a look at it, and this shall be a contribution to the industry in this sometimes very hard time. And we'll take it from there. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.